If you're tired of constantly chasing validation, bending over backwards for other people, and people pleasing, listen up. In this video, we're going to cover 10 life-changing reasons why you should stop constantly seeking approval from other people. And yes, this is your wake-up call. This is your permission slip to stop chasing approval and start showing up more confidently in the world. So let's get into it. Number one, you cannot be your full authentic self when you are obsessed with whether people like you or not. When you are putting on a show for others, when you just need so desperately to be liked, you can't be yourself. You can't be your genuine self. You're working so hard to be something that other people like that you end up compromising who you are. When you stop obsessing over whether people like you or not, you can actually start to show up more genuinely in the world. Number two, constantly seeking everybody's approval is exhausting and it leads to unnecessary anxiety. When you're always worried about fitting in and you're worried about whether or not you're going to be rejected or not, you are spending a disproportionate amount of time and energy on something that ultimately you can't control anyway, and that is whether people like you or not. Let me ask you something. Do you know how much longer you're on this earth for? None of us really know. So do you really want to spend that remaining time fighting against yourself, losing sleep over whether or not somebody may or may not like you? What if you could instead free up that time and energy on doing things that are enriching for your life, feeling more creative, feeling more connected? Number three, when you stop obsessing over whether people like you, it forces you to learn healthy conflict resolution. Now, this is a good thing because if you're used to chasing validation and making sure that everybody likes you all the time, chances are you've been bottling up your problems or bottling up your emotions in order to be accepted by people. This is not a great thing because I've talked about it before. When you bottle up your emotions and sweep things under the rug, you end up either blowing up at somebody because you've had the last straw, or you build up all this resentment and become distant and cold. And either way, it's damaging to the relationship. But when you stop putting other people's needs before yours, when you stop obsessing over whether people like you or not, it forces you to start getting honest with them, bringing up issues, things that are bothering you. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to start being rude or laying into people about everything that's wrong with them. That's not the point here. The point here is it forces you to start learning how to bring up issues in a way that's effective and productive. Because most likely, if you've been people-pleasing your entire life, you may not have learned those conflict resolution skills, or at least the healthy ones. Number four, when you stop chasing the approval of everybody around you, it'll help you find your voice, speak up, and learn how to be assertive. When you stop obsessing over what people think of you and relying on their external validation, then you start realizing that your needs are equally important to anybody else's, and it actually empowers you to speak up more for yourself. And bonus points, when you learn how to speak up for yourself in a way that's kind and assertive, then you actually empower the people around you to do the same because they see you leading by example. Number five, when you stop chasing approval from the people around you, it actually strengthens your relationships. You might be used to sweeping things under the rug, bottling up your emotions, trying to keep the peace because you're worried that, hey, if I bring up an issue, it's actually going to make our relationship, our dynamic worse. But working through issues, working through conflict actually brings people closer to each other. That's because in order to effectively resolve conflict between two people, you need to be vulnerable about your needs, about your experiences, and you need to have compassion for the other person to understand where they're coming from so that you can meet both people's needs equally. This brings people closer together because it forces them to understand each other. When you stop seeking approval all the time and start being more honest about your experiences, it gives you an opportunity to build more enriching, deeper, more positive relationships with the people that you care about in your life. Number six, something that happens when you stop chasing validation from other people is that you become less likely to attract toxic people or people who use you or people who try to manipulate you. Toxic people, mean people, manipulative people, whatever you want to call them, they are drawn to people with low self-esteem. That's because people with low self-esteem are less likely to stand up against poor treatment. They're more likely to put up with bad behavior, and they just tend to put other people's needs above theirs, so they tend to get walked all over. When you stop obsessing over whether people like you or not and start speaking up for yourself more, you tend to naturally spend less time and energy with the people who drain you and more time and energy on the relationships that matter and enrich you the most. Number seven, It will pay off in your career in the long run if you can stop people pleasing and obsessing over whether people like you. You will feel more fulfillment and you'll have more progress in your career when you can raise your self-esteem. That's because this forces you to get honest about the things that are and aren't working for you in your job. It forces you to evaluate whether the projects that you've been taking on, the role that you're in, are actually helping you progress in your career, or if you're getting what you want out of your current situation. When you stop doing things just to get approval from other people and start getting clearer on what it is that you want and need, you can take on projects and roles that better align with your goals and your values, rather than just doing random things that people give you because you can't say no and you have no sense of your own direction. When you start speaking up for what you want and need, rather than just doing things to people please and saying yes to everything, it actually helps your manager, your company, whoever. It helps them understand how to better support you and give you assignments and projects that help you get to where you want, rather than just dumping whatever they can on your plate. And this leads to getting work that's more aligned to your interests and goals. It also leads you to have better assessments of whether or not the situation you're in is actually worth it, or if you maybe need to move to a different company or pursue a different role. Also, when you can speak up for yourself because you're not obsessed with whether people are going to like you or not all the time, it helps you establish and maintain healthy work-life boundaries, meaning you'll be less stressed and more fulfilled because you can set those boundaries comfortably. Number 8. When you stop obsessing over whether people like you or not, you start doing more things out of joy rather than out of fear. And let me explain what I mean by that. A lot of people who people please are worried that if they stop people pleasing, they're going to be cold and mean and cold-hearted. But it's actually quite the opposite. When you stop chasing approval all the time, it actually frees you up to do things because you want to, out of joy and out of love, rather than out of fear of being rejected or a sense of obligation. It feels so much more genuine and you feel so much more connected with other people when you know that you're doing things and you're helping out of kindness, out of joy, rather than out of a sense of obligation or a fear of rejection. Number 9, it'll improve your self-esteem. And that's because when you stop chasing validation from everybody around you, it forces you to be your own source of validation. All that time and energy that you previously wasted on trying to make sure everybody likes you can now be put on actually resolving issues that are coming up in your life or areas in your life that you want to improve. Number 10, the most important reason why you should stop chasing approval from other people is it'll force you to find yourself, to find your true self. When you stop doing things just to make other people happy, it leaves this gap where you have to identify what makes me happy? It forces you to get honest about what you want, what you don't want, who you are as a person, what you do and don't like, the people who matter and the people who don't. And I'm telling you, life is a lot easier and so much more enriching when you can be your true self instead of chasing everybody's approval all the time. If you like this video, please check out my free guide on how to stop people pleasing. It is a PDF with 10 strategies for how to stop obsessing over what people think of you and start speaking up for yourself to build confidence and improve the relationships with the people in your life. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.